now.
Hi, you're watching the unedited version of the Sunday Morning Linux Review. If you wish to listen to the final version, please go to smlr.us. Thank you.
The Sunday Morning Linux Review with Mary Tomich, Tom Lawrence, and Tony Bemis as the Beaver. And this is episode 232.
Unity for Unicorns.
All right. This is Tony Bemis.
Mary Tomich.
Tom Lawrence.
And Phil Parada.
All right. And we're all back full force. Yeah.
That's right.
Last episode, it was just Tom and I, and now we got everybody.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Twice as much fun going on
Yeah,
now.
twice as much fun.
We
That's
doubled
right.
up on staff.
Double the fun. Oh, you'll be surprised how quickly it goes. So the reason why we've named our episode thusly is because today, as Tom informed us before we went live, is National Unicorn Day. I had no idea. And then, of course, we slipped the Unity in there because Canonical is dumping. Well, I guess they're dumping. Is it dumping Unity for?
Pretty much.
GNOME
for GNOME 3.
Yeah, GNOME 3. So.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that in the
Yeah,
section.
we've got more information on that, but we just thought it'd be kind of fun. There's a lot of use in there, so we just thought we'd make use of it. Make use of it. All right. So.
All right.
Huh.
Yep. So last couple weeks, what have you been doing?
Oh.
I've well, I guess I'll
Tony,
start
you gonna go first?
Sure. It's been slow for tech stuff. But I don't know, just work's been really busy. I'm getting closer. They finally found a replacement for me, but HR has to
So you were nearly irreplaceable.
right. Well, so I'm still like in the networking team trying to go over to the network security team. They finally found a replacement. Just HR has to approve everything. So, and it's only been a process that started back in like September. To find a replacement.
Wow, you must be
they're
a valuable team member.
I'd like to think so.
So hopefully your manager has seen that and it will be thusly reflected in your compensation.
So far
or not.
So far they've told me, oh no, not yet. So, but that's hopefully going to change soon. I'm going to make strides for that.
Good.
Other than that, not much is going on.
Okay.
What about you, Mary?
Well, since I was last here with you all, I went to Iceland.
Nice.
Wow.
I hiked on a glacier. Oh my goodness, that was amazing. It really was. Windy as heck. Interestingly enough, it's the same glacier that I was at 3.5 years ago on my first trip to Iceland.
Is it smaller?
Yes. Yes. And what is surprising, and I don't post Facebook. I usually drop political bombs and then log out. But I did post a picture of then and now in Facebook just to show the change, because there was this big boulder that was just in front of the snout. I guess the front of the glacier is called a snout. And so this boulder was taller than me, and probably about 10 of me could lined up next to each other could still fit across that boulder. But anyway, the snout of the glacier 3.5 years ago was just a little bit behind this boulder. I mean, it was really, I got a great picture of it and everything. And this back a few weeks ago when we were there, that snout is now way back. There's a huge lake, not a huge lake, but I mean a really large pond. Ice is it was actually kind of sad to see, to be quite honest. But I guess that's how. Now, officially for the show, are we saying climate change is a hoax? Just kidding. No, but I mean, it's just, whether the degree to which it's caused by humans is irrelevant. It's happening. There's some significant changes. So so that's so I went to Iceland, had a great time. Unfortunately, the Northern Lights came out 2 days after we left again. So I'm going to have to do something about that timing. Yeah. So we missed that, but we also saw the tectonic plates, the North American and Eurasian plate. They come up out of the ocean and go right through Iceland. And we were able to walk right next to the North American tectonic plate and the Eurasian plate, because they very slowly pull apart at about 2 centimeters a year. The Eurasian plate is across this Rift Valley, so it's way over. No one's over there. Everybody's walking next to the North American one because it's so obvious. But it was really a very interesting. I highly recommend a trip to Iceland for anyone who's interested. The airfare is cheap. It was $449 per person round trip out of Boston.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, but that's what I did. I installed Talking Linux. Or I didn't install it. I did test Talking Linux, which we can talk about later. That's about it for me.
You know, I always think of Iceland as like the land of alternative energies, because don't they have a lot of geothermal stuff and.
They do. As a matter of fact, I took a picture the day we left. This is, I think, a week ago, last Monday. I like to go to hardware stores in other countries, grocery stores, different places like that, just to kind of see what they have. And it was 37 degrees out, and we went into this hardware store. The door, they didn't even close their door, because their energy bills are practically nothing there, because Iceland sits on a magma plume. What they do is they'll drill boreholes down, and then the steam and all that hot water and all of that, or whatever's down there, stuff's down there, and they essentially then will harness that and its energy. Yeah. That's how they do it.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, its energy is so cheap there that a lot of the recyclable aluminum is sent to Iceland to be melted down and recycled.
Wow.
So, yeah. Amazing. It's an amazing place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it always sunny there, or is it just always overcast? What's that like?
It's a little more I would say that it's kind of like here in a way. I mean, there's a fair amount of overcast, but it's a lot more mild than you would think, mainly because of the moderating influence of the Gulf Stream, I guess it is called. Or, it's that ocean stuff that kind of comes up.
The winds off the ocean.
My technical, yeah.
Ocean
yeah,
stuff.
yes. And I think the ocean currents too. But yeah, it's just a fascinating place. So
cool.
I always wanted to go to Belgium, though. They have a beer pipe. They tunneled under the city to pipe beer that they brew in the city, out of the city to the trucks. I mean, there's an entire, we're like oil pipelines we're debating over here. No one's debating. They're building beer pipelines in Belgium. They are advanced people.
wow. Oh, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, look that up. There's a documentary on it.
I will.
The Belgian beer pipeline.
Yeah.
It's way better than any oil pipeline documentary I watch.
It does sound pretty good. All right, Tom.
All right, me? Oh, we got a new building, and I alluded to that at the last episode, and now we have the city things out of the way, where we're allowed to do things to the building. They certified us.
Allowed to do things to the building.
Allowed to do things to the building. So we did lots of things to the building and built it. We're still in the process of building it out. I'm really, really sore right now. We worked till about midnight last night. Yep. And then I'm here now, and then I'm going back to the building after the podcast and continue the work.
Wow.
So it's been a fun build out of our new office and all kinds of geekiness that's going into it. But we're geeks with hammers right now. We're building it ourselves. We did not hire
geeks
contractors.
With hammers.
Geeks with hammers, sledgehammers, and all kinds of stuff. VPNs have been a hot topic, so I did videos on VPN.
Oh, yeah, they have been a hot topic.
You had a tube that you're pushing.
Oh, yeah. People, because we deal with a lot of the retail market, so we wanted to explain VPNs because we get the question all the time. So a lot of my videos are driven by questions people ask me. So people ask about what a VPN is. So me and Marvin made a video, and we threw pens at each other to show that we called the viewer the ISP, and by watching us throw pens at each other, you can see what websites we go to. But then we grabbed a tube and we dropped the pens through the tube so you couldn't see it. And you can see there's a tube between me and Marvin, but you can't see what websites I'm going to. And so it's a little 4-minute explanation of VPNs with pens and tubes and laughter.
Excellent. That's a great way. That's a great way.
We've got a lot of comments, people messaging us how much they liked it. So.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Well, here's, I think one of the questions I had when I first learned about VPNs is I just didn't understand the idea of a quote unquote tunnel.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, at least as I understand it now, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the data that establishes that connection between you and the receiver, whomever, it's going over the same pipe as other stuff,
Right.
except it's just kind of unreadable.
It's unreadable. It's an encrypted pipe. So they know that you're talking to the VPN provider, but they don't know
But
anything
they don't know
else.
anything else. Okay.
Right. And I use PIA VPN in my demo because I like them. They're actually
I've seen that ad. Is that
they're one of the popular ones out there. What I like about them is, okay, granted they're a for-profit business. I'm always skeptical of any VPN company, but they have a couple features. One, to disconnect you from your payment, they'll even accept like a Starbucks gift card. So you can anonymously set up an account. You can use random gift cards to prepay for your account and things like that, which is kind of cool.
okay?
So they have a lot of different payment. They have a lot of ways to disassociate you from you, which is nice. They also are spending their money on something we're all interested in. They're paying for the code audit of
Coffee, beer.
coffee, beer. Yes, they're buying coffee, beer, and they are paying for the code stack audit of OpenVPN 2.4. So there's actually 2 companies paying for it. I forget the one team's name. There's like a code team that does it. The same people who do audited TrueCrypt. And even though that company is auditing OpenVPN and doing a full code audit, they're paying for another top security research guy to do a full code audit of OpenVPN because most of their stuff is based on that. Plus, they have Linux clients and nice instructions on how to set things up. And Tony fell into exactly the same trap. I'm 90% sure when he checks his port number, he's going to find it because I spent an hour beating my head against how to set it up on pfSense. And then I made a 13-minute video on how to connect pfSense to OpenVPN and encrypt all of your network traffic, but have selective routing options so certain devices don't have to go over the VPN because Netflix, for example, doesn't support it. Other than that, the other things I've been working on is lots of the Unify equipment and their new video camera systems, how to set it up on Linux, and documenting all those processes. And I've been rocking out a lot of YouTube.
The Unify
videos.
camera, is that a brand or is that a okay?
Yeah, Ubiquity is the name of the company, and
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, Ubiquity and then Unify. Their products are absolutely amazing. They probably have some of the best interface writers ever. Like their UI design team, me and Tony were talking about their managed switches have little lights, have a picture of each model switch and little lights on it. And they tell you what device is connected to what. They light up green. I mean, you've never managed a switch this easy. Setting up VLANs and everything is just, it's fluid. It's simple. It's all a really nice HTML5 dashboard. And they do that for all of their products.
Wow, that's nice.
So
So what does something like that cost?
they're actually not that expensive. That's what even blows your mind more. This is, as far as I'm concerned, this is why Cisco is dropping employees and why they did all the layoffs. Unify is making superior equipment for a better price with a better design because it's a better concept, and they have no license fees for any other software. Matter of fact, their NVR software is the best NVR software I've ever used. And I've used some like the products we use at school. They're $10,000 a light for all the seats and license for the system. And it doesn't have a UI near what the Ubiquity system is. And they give it away for free. You can get the whole NVR software suite for free. The only catch, you have to buy their cameras. But their cameras are reasonably priced. So we bought some of their cameras and set up an NVR, supports Linux or Windows. And
wow,
a beautiful HTML5 interface. The phone interface is just fluid. It took me like no time to learn how to use it.
Wow, a company that gets it.
Or a company that gets it. So yeah, and then I'm going to do some teardowns of their Wi-Fi devices because they're outstanding. I even have a 3-year-old Unify device, and I hit update and updated the firmware on one we had from an old client we took over. Like, no one updated them in 3 years. We updated, then it broke something, and we were able to roll back to a different firmware. Like, no problem. They make everything so simple to do without.
That's nice.
Yeah, and they all run BusyBox Linux kernels.
Oh, BusyBox.
Yeah, they did.
I'm familiar with BusyBox.
Yeah. They did get in a little trouble.
Not by design.
They had trouble for some security issues they had recently, but people made a bigger deal out of them trying to attack the company. They were an interface cross-scripting issue on a setup interface that had like super basic features. Yes, they should fix it, but it also, no one can log into it. Once you set these devices up, no one ever logs in again. So yeah.
Once you log in, you don't log out.
Yeah. And the only person ever log in would be a sysadmin, but it was a cross scripting. Like if you created a read-only user, it could escalate to full read and write privileges. I mean, it was a flaw. It should be fixed. They fixed it. But it wasn't like the end of the world because you had to have a login to the device to even get started on that.
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I've been researching all that and putting lots of YouTube videos out there. We've got like 4,100 subscribers now. So, woo!
Wow.
Lots of people watching YouTube videos. That's what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks.
That sounds like a full.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, 4,000. That's pretty good.
It's picking up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, Phil.
Phil did a thing.
What was that, Phil?
I am a very, very lucky person, and I've been chosen to work at the Linux Foundation. And I am over the moon about that. It's been the best 3-4 weeks that
Of
I've
your
ever
life?
pretty much, yeah.
It's awesome.
So I'm figuring out how to regain a work-life balance. My wife gets home from work before I even realize that the day is over, and I look at my watch and go, "Oh, I guess it is time to go."
Well, having a job like that,
it is the hardest job that I've ever had, but it's also super rewarding, and every day I just keep learning. So it's a lot of fun, and that's all I can really ask for in a job. Plus, I get to help Linux at its core.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Which is really cool because it's it makes it really neat, and the challenges are, like you said, the rewardingness of challenges, and you feel like you're accomplishing something because you kind of are.
That's for sure.
We will directly, as Linux users, and actually the internet as a whole, will see benefits from the things Phil does.
I was gonna. Well, now are you allowed to say what you do, or?
I get to work on a project called Let's Encrypt.
Yeah, we all know about that. That's pretty cool.
That's really all I can say about it. But it's been fantastic so far. Everybody that I get to work with, super friendly, super patient.
Excellent.
And it feels like a family.
Wow.
Well, imagine when you're working any type of high level project like that especially because it involves security, you got to have a good camaraderie between people and understanding.
And that's such a hot topic too.
Everyone wants everything encrypted.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic, Phil. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. Other than that, my wife and I are the age where everyone's getting married, everyone's having kids. So we've been
do you have another announcement for us?
No, not yet. We've been driving back and forth across the country far too many times in the past couple months. We're going to do it again this weekend.
Really?
What, drive across the country?
Back and forth from Missouri, Chicago.
That's only half the country. Just kidding. No, that's a long road trip. I was thinking of driving to Las Vegas in July.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
You know, flights are so cheap. Why would you drive to Vegas? Unless you're going for the road trip. I mean, if it's the road
part
trip,
of it would be the road trip, but
66?
flights are 400 and there's like to go to Vegas, it's about 400 and some bucks.
Really? I thought they were like 100 and something.
No, if it were 100 and something, I'd be flying.
Okay.
So I don't know, but anyway, so you're going back and forth to Missouri because
My wife is from there.
Oh, okay. But where's she live? Does she live with you now?
Yeah.
Okay. But her family's there.
Yes.
Gotcha.
We live in the greater Metro Detroit area.
Okay. So do we. Just giving you a hard time.
Other than that, we'll get to travel to Tokyo, Japan at the end of May for the Open Source Summit. And that's going to be super cool.
Hey, Tony, there's one thing for the Linux convention scene. I think we can have one this episode.
All right.
Wow, that will be cool. You realize you might be the tallest person there.
It's a curse.
He's a taller person here.
Yeah.
Can't even walk through my house without hitting my head on something. It is. There is no good part about being tall.
No, I never had the desire because I wouldn't fit on the things everything's custom for tall people.
Now, that's a work-related trip, right?
Yes, it is.
Did you tell them you're going to need to fly business class because of your height?
It's going to be 13 hours of leg cramped goodness. In a plane. I cannot put down the little tray table because it just sits at such a steep angle.
Wow. Because it has to rest up against your knees, or?
Yes.
Holy cow.
And look at him, just laughs about it. He's got such a good attitude.
Such is life.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, great. I mean, great on the job, great on the trip.
Yes, that is very cool.
Yeah. Congratulations. You know, I also thought about this week. If you live in Southeast Michigan, this is like the week of the lug. the lug nut or lugs, like Linux user groups.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's 3 of them, 3 meetings this week. There's
MD Lug?
MD Lug was yesterday.
Mhm.
Simco is today. Mug is this Tuesday.
Mhm.
And then I think Washlug is either on this Thursday or maybe it's next week.
It's next Thursday for
Okay.
Washlug.
Do you know where these are going to be at?
So Mug is in
Farmington Hills or Farmington?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Don't go to the hilly part of Farmington. Just go to the
at the library on 12 Mile. MD Lug was yesterday in Dearborn Heights. And I think Simco meets in Southfield, if I remember right, today.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Southfield at the library.
Okay.
Yeah,
I couldn't
I've been to
remember.
that once. I actually spoke at that once. That's the only time I went.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, speaking of speaking, we're looking forward to getting you scheduled for the BSD semi-bug,
Good.
Southeast Michigan BSD user
I'm
group.
getting ready to release my 2017 because I've done a 2015, a 2016. Now I want to do a 2017 PF Sense talk.
Yes, because I mentioned it to Michael W. Lucas, and he's up for it. So
Yeah.
When is that meeting?
Or
the next
hey,
meeting.
that might be. It's actually not this Tuesday. It's a week from Tuesday,
Oh, okay.
I think.
Also,
yeah, it is a week from Tuesday, I think.
yeah, I think I'll go to the Tuesday. I was looking at my calendar. I got nothing going on Tuesday night, so I want to go see Tony talk.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
there
going to
you
be
go.
talking at
You
Mug.
want to go?
Mug is the
It's
Michigan
late.
users
It
group.
goes late, but you don't got to get up early.
Yeah, semi-bug is on the 18th of April, our April meeting. So,
Oh, okay.
but anyway, Tony, yeah, when you're ready with that talk, let me know. They've got a very nice facility up in Troy where we meet.
Okay. No, yeah, they made it
Conference room with
Altair
a-
now, right?
Yep, it's at Altair. Yep.
Very cool. No, I'm excited. I want
right.
to do it because I did not talk at PenguinCon, so I did not select to do any because I knew the building project. We didn't know when it was going to land.
Sure, makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
And it lands. We're going to finish. We're going to be moving to a new building 1 week before PenguinCon,
Hey.
which is good, but it's so much work to do this.
Yeah. So this Tuesday, I'll be doing my PenguinCon talk at Mug, which is on firewalls. It's about setting up your own, just more basic firewall stuff, not PFSense specific.
Ooh, I got a
things.
story about that. Maybe we'll talk about it in the news.
Oh, all right.
Oh, okay.
Someone made a mistake in a firewall and cost the company a fortune.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a really good Reddit post.
Were they fired?
No.
Oh, well, let's save that. Okay, that's our
a
our
news
hook.
segment.
That's our hook
Yeah.
for to
Yeah.
stick around for the news.
All right.
All right, so I guess we're going to move on to.
We want to hear from you. Call 734-258-7009 or email show@smlr.us with your feedback and questions.
All right.
Well, we had a typo because I think I want to take the bullet on that one because I the one that did it.
Well, that's big of you, Tom.
I just put the wrong,
Oh,
Yeah, the title of a
but the
previous
content was
episode.
right.
oh, there you go.
Stupid
Yeah.
copy pasta. I copy pasta and then I edit or not apparently.
Copy. Well,
Copy and paste.
copy and
paste.
pasta.
Yeah. we always say at work, we always copy pasta it. So
Oh my gosh. But okay.
Yeah.
So someone wrote in and mentioned it.
Yeah, they said you got the name wrong. Shark Linux. You have it called whatever TrueOS was.
Yeah,
the
I just-
previous.
I just had the
Oh.
previous
So-
title
Okay.
Yeah.
because I
Okay.
hit duplicate on the WordPress post, but then I didn't change title. But I
Yeah.
deleted the content, put the new content, so your notes are all in there. Just has
Perfect.
completely the wrong title.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we got a new listener, so I want to say thank you to Matt for subscribing and listening to us.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Kevin said they were still moving around things with the PenguinCon schedule, so I can't remember whether
I'm
we
sure
said
we're not going to
specific
have any
dates or
competitors
times.
for Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good
So-
on that.
So far, well, it might change, but so far we're on for Sunday morning at 7 a.m.
All right. Yeah,
So-
that's fine.
Yeah.
And he also let us know he's always listening.
Yeah.
I like that comment and the feedback. I'm always listening, Tom. So hi, Kevin.
Right.
Hey, my buddy Ruth who's my techie buddy, is going to PenguCon for the first time.
All right.
She won't be attending our show though. She doesn't get up at 7 o'clock. So anyway, what are the listeners?
We have a few listener feedbacks. One is from just the other day.
Oh,
Yeah,
just the
or
other day.
first.
Thank you for
On the first, I guess.
Oh,
it was a week
okay.
ago. But they said the True OS episode, which is actually 220, had no notes in it.
Okay.
So they want your notes, Mary.
All right, I will. I'm going to go and develop my notes. I mean, not develop them, but I mean, print them.
Sent them to Tom.
And send them to. Didn't I send them to you, Tom?
No, that's why they're not in there.
I'll be darned.
I won't
Okay.
take the blame for that.
No, that's true, and you shouldn't. That's on me. I'm very sorry. I'll do that.
And then we have a very lengthy feedback from Marcus Pettit from Shark Linux.
Oh yeah.
Notes were there, Marcus.
Yes, the notes are there. Well, he goes through and he talks about some of the problems you're having and how to
fix
get
them.
around. Yeah.
Oh,
or
okay.
some of the explanations behind them.
I don't know if I saw that or not. Where did that come in?
It's on the website. It's supposed to email to us, but
Okay.
I didn't see it come through either until I come in here and hit approve.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure.
Yeah, it wasn't approved, so it didn't email at that time.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Is it approved now?
It is approved now. So
All right.
we will.
I'll look for that.
Yeah.
And thank you for your comments on that.
Right. Did you guys see anything else?
No, I didn't. You covered it all.
Tom emailed his notes for today.
Yeah, I just sent my today's notes in case you guys want to read what I'm doing.
Right.
I should really send you guys that ahead of time.
All right. I guess that's about it.
Okay.
Distro Fever, where we cover the latest hot distro releases and news.
Mary, did you see anything come up?
Yes. Okay, you want more than just that. Yes, actually, I was looking through here, and it's because in our next episode, when I do my fresh looks, I saw this Talking Arch. Now, it's not going to be on Talking Arch, but what kind of caught my eye about this is that, well, it's a Linux distro for the visually impaired. So of course I downloaded it, and it's that and tried it out. It's that mechanical voice, where if you are going to do ls of a large directory, it's going to read out, it'll read out the whole thing. But I think that over time, it would be great if that voice could get a little more, not modulation or anything, but just be able to figure stuff out a little quicker, I think, for people. I'm under the assumption that someone who might be totally blind or without sight would be using it, and then you're relying totally on your audio.
Right. I wonder if there's a way to integrate in some of the other voice libraries. Like on your phone, you have like 5 different voice libraries you can choose from.
That would be nice.
I like everything in a British voice.
Right.
So you guys familiar with what Scratch is? If you're doing Scratch and music. Yeah. So what I did then is I'd be doing this. I would be doing this like I'd start doing some Scratch with it, and I thought, oh my God, I should record this because it would be pretty funny. I mean,
that would be funny.
Because of the voice, it's just that very computery voice.
I think there's a couple nerdcore bands that use some of the computer voices like
Yeah.
that too. So
it would be like, yeah, and so I kind of had these beats going, and I just thought, oh, I have work to do. I can't be playing around like this. So anyway, but yeah, Talking Arch caught my eye. It's a nice project, and also if you go to the website is extremely plain as far as visual goes, but the developer does a nice thing, and he puts a recording, an audio tutorial of installing it. So he talks and kind of walks you through the install process, which I thought was pretty helpful for people who want to give it a try. So anyway, yeah. So Talking Arch caught my eye as far as what's available out there, and then I saw Nutex.
Yeah.
Simply because I did a review of it earlier this year. So
And 9.0 it's released.
yes. So congratulations to the team. Theory Nuttons. I think I communicated with him too. So.
All right.
Yep. Oh, Global Linux. I did that review. Was it last year? I think. And Global Linux, what's interesting about them is that their directory structure, they will put all the files that are related to an application. They kind of create these little structures that are independent and self-contained as far as things that get installed. It's a very different directory structure than your typical vanilla Linux distro. So I see that they've got a new release.
CentOS 6.9 just came out. It's the last update for CentOS 6
okay.
That came down the pipe from upstream Red Hat.
Mm-hmm.
And Fedora now has a 26 alpha. I think Fedora 26 itself is going to drop sometime this summer.
Hopefully, yeah, sometime this summer.
Okay, I will tell no jokes about that.
That's at least that's like a broad range of saying instead of trying to set a date and then not make the date.
If they can nail a season, we're good.
Yeah, and that doesn't reflect anything on how nice the distro is. We just joke about the timing. So
right.
So carry on, Fedora project. We like you.
I see that Netrunner had a release 17.3. And they're having the KDE Plasma 9.5 or 5.9 desktop on it.
Cubes OS, their release 3.2 had a security update a couple days ago. Cubes OS, from an earlier episode, Mary did a deep dive into that. It runs the Xen hypervisor, and there's a privilege escalation where a VM could break out and acquire
and run wild.
Acquire DOM0 access.
Oh, wow!
So that's been patched.
That's good. Yeah,
Was that probably from the Pwn to Own competition?
Possibly.
There was one of the popular things the last Pwn to Own was breaking out of hypervisors. There was several of them that were, they used a series of attacks. But that was a big hot topic because they had the biggest prizes for that. So they saved them up to.
I heard of the VMware one that was broke. But I wasn't sure that, or I didn't hear of the KD.
They just said there were several. I didn't read all of them. They said there were several hypervisor things. I'm gonna guess that it was on there. But it's one of those things that, I mean, Xen is super popular, but so is VMware. So they probably just picked the biggest name.
All right.
Yeah, and Phil, I think you may have talked about this on the last episode or earlier, and I wasn't here for it. You talked about the fact that you're kind of running cubes now, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been playing with cubes, and it was really, really weird getting into it. But having a background as a Xen admin, it's not too much of a foreign concept. Starting up a web browser, terminal in any number of virtual machines, super easy. The cubes interface is pretty nice. Copy and pasting between virtual machines gets weird, but just like using a regular keyboard and an Apple keyboard, you eventually get used to it. It took me a day or two. Now it's something that I just do in the back of my mind and I don't even worry about.
That's cool.
But it's been a pretty good experience.
Yeah. Excellent. I liked it when I reviewed it. And if I know they've got a Debian version, or that you can place it on Debian. I have not done that. I think it would be kind of an interesting exercise, or frustrating, depending on how easy it is.
The next challenge is to get my wife to run it.
Oh,
you just got to get her on Linux in general, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, just get her off that Mac. She bought a new one though, didn't she?
She also got a work provided one.
Okay, well, you can't turn down a free one.
No,
right?
A free Mac?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, she probably wouldn't want to give that up, especially if it belongs to work.
Yeah.
Do you ever show her? Do you ever like trick out your Linux system and just show her how cool it is?
One of her dreams is learning how to use Vim and not get trapped inside of it for the rest of her life.
You talking about like insert mode and command mode and all that?
Yes.
Or, okay.
That's my favorite Twitter joke that's on there. That guy, the programming humor one. They have a pinned post for the longest time. It says, "I've been using Vim for 6 years, but it's really because I don't know how to exit."
I think Richard Stallman's got to quote something like VI is the number of the beast.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that is funny. Oh,
Yeah, that's good.
I did get my wife to start communicating with me over Signal as opposed to Google Hangouts. So
Signal.
Yes.
I am not familiar with that.
Signal is a messaging platform. You can also make phone calls with it from Open Whisper Systems. And the guy behind that,
Open Whisper Systems.
Moxie Marlin Spike.
yes,
I just like saying his name.
Yeah.
he used to be the head of security at Twitter, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, he's interesting. He's done some great talks too.
Yes, absolutely.
Very talented.
that's cool.
Huh. I'll have to check that out.
Me and Phil, we whisper.
I need to get that set up too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Tony didn't pop up. It's funny. One friend I think he installed it by accident. She's not, because we spent a lot of time devirusing his Windows box.
You know, along those lines, and we're still in the distro section of the show, aren't we?
We are.
So I'm not going to diverge too much, but I think about, was it 3 years ago, Tony? I talked, I don't know if I talked you into it. Maybe it was Matt at the time, but you guys heard of a RetroShare?
I have not. What is RetroShare?
RetroShare is kind of a peer-to-peer application for a number of different actions and activities where you can share stuff. And I think it might be kind of fun for us maybe to install it and run some tests and kind of talk about it in an upcoming episode.
If I remember right, that was on your LAN only, right? Unless you want to start opening up ports, but I thought it was just a local kind of connection. But it had a little messaging thing in it. You could send files back and forth.
Yeah, retroshare.net is the URL for it. I can't remember if what the licensing is though, so we may not be interested in it if it's not good licensing.
Right.
Of course,
this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You do authentication with PGP keys. There's also new chat and video conferencing programs and stuff coming out that make use of WebRTC. So it's decentralized. You don't have a server controlling all of your data. Just all of the clients communicate amongst themselves.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love decentralization like that.
Said Tom announced.
Yes.
That is pretty good. Wow.
I agree. Whenever Tom says something, I think, it's always good just to agree with it.
Oh. Can you tell it to my wife?
Well, you remember when Matt was on the show, it was always, he would say stuff so, he would just shout it out and practically
affirmative.
And it's like conviction convinces. So at first I used to just say, oh, okay. And then half the stuff he said was not quite right.
Right.
So then of course it became, we challenged everything he said.
We've done that a lot to people.
Because conviction convinces. If you say something with such conviction, people are inclined to go along with it.
Yeah. No.
So don't get too.
I had fun with a client.
Comfortable, Tom.
I had a fun with a client. I did that. We were debriefing a security breach they had, and from the previous IT guy, and he just word saladed a group of words together and explained them how the breach happened.
Salad.
And so I describe it, and because he just affirmatively said big words,
sure,
did that. So I did the same thing to them. They looked at me and go, "Oh, really?" And I'm like, "No, I just lied to you. That's what he did too." I said, "This is completely not how your breach happened."
Wow. That's funny.
But I said it affirmatively, and you believe me. And they said, "Yeah, you sounded like you knew what you're talking about." I'm like, I just strung together a bunch of words, just like this guy did. Word salad's our favorite term now. That's our.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of a favorite salad. Yeah, we hear a lot of
just
it.
Like
pretty tasty.
Just string a bunch of words together and say you're affirmative.
I'm not going to go there, but I've got some samples that are really kind of crazy.
All right.
All right.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Tech news and views.
Oh,
Well, we were ready for that.
I was finally on point with the
Tony
the soundboard, and
Yeah.
Sometimes
right.
Tony spends a minute looking for the soundboard.
Yeah.
Right.
This time it was us who spent a minute looking at each other. Oh, okay, we are there. No, but actually we're ready.
That's our cue.
I already opened up my news items.
All right. So
What?
what do you have, Mary?
Well, actually, I took the precaution of checking with Tom before the show started because usually many of my news items are talked about by Tom. But I have to say this, and then I'm going to turn it over to you, Tom.
Okay.
It's from the, of course, now I don't know if it makes sense. From the What Goes Around Comes Around department, we have Canonical to stop developing Unity 8.
Yes.
And Ubuntu 18.04 LTS is going to ship with GNOME Desktop.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Bad news for Unity and good news for uniting us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We've gone back to the title of the show.
Yeah. The article I found was titled Ubuntu Converge Implodes.
Yeah.
Didn't they drop all of their phone support and TV support as well? So there's not going to be a Ubuntu phone anymore?
Well, that's a different type of thing. There's an entire streamlining of the company, probably because Shuttleworth is taken back over as CEO, and they streamlined a lot of stuff. They're kind of going, okay, this is all stuff that's not going to be able to make us money. And I think they kind of got jealous because one of my slight news articles, but there's not a lot of details other than a press release. Red Hat's making some dough, like a lot of money. Red Hat's very profitable right now. And that's probably Uni going, you can make money with this over here at Canonical, but we got to do things that make money. And all these other things aren't making money.
Speaking of Red Hat, I think their most recent quarter, they made a ton of money. I posted that article in my Google Plus stream because it was pretty impressive.
Well, their earnings call was in the billions.
Oh.
$629 million.
Mm-hmm.
If I could whistle, I would be doing that right now.
Yeah, but it's showing that.
Instead, you're just going to say, "Wow."
Yeah,
you could. Okay,
but here, I look at this interesting. As I brought up, is Ubuntu becoming boring because they're not doing things? But then you look at Red Hat. Red Hat is. We don't even bring them up other than making a joke about will the release be seasonal? Can they nail a season? But
yeah, and that's Fedora, but that's the Red Hat.
Yeah, but we're not ever talking about it in the news, but they are genuinely doing a profitable thing. They're doing a lot of open source stuff. They've got a lot of control of the market, of the open source market at the enterprise level. Red Hat,
Red Hat, the System D company.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So
shots fired.
That was a joke. But yeah, I was very happy for them.
They don't make our news list very often. You know what I mean? There's not anything exciting we talk about for Red Hat, but they're one of those that old enterprise levels, probably been around the longest, but they're clearly, at $629 million, they're making some money.
They are.
I think that's a good thing
for
that
them.
They don't make the news very often because that usually super stable.
They're doing stuff right.
Yeah. Biggest thing, in my opinion, was they bought Ansible back in September. The configuration management tool.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. So there's tons of Red Hat engineers on GitHub and
Tony,
IRC
did you know
for
that?
I did not know that.
Good. I'm not the only one.
Right. Well, and there's something to be said for that. Enterprise, one of the reasons the enterprise market hates Windows 10 so much is they really need things to be code stable, interface stable, because they have to have it. At some point, it comes down to not us techies using it, but the end users that need a repeatable process that they can integrate into their workflow that just works. And so that's one of the reasons you get a code stable product that's interface stable, and Red Hat's, they're providing it, and with support and security patches. It doesn't look any different, but if we find a hole, we'll fix it right away. So, okay, give me the confidence I needed. We can integrate this to our general workflow. It's not like us, like, hey, I'll just reload my laptop today. That is not end users.
Right. So getting back to the article. Here it says that
Thanks, Tony.
On April 5th, Shuttleworth had a blog post detailing or talking about some of that. And it says, but Shuttleworth did not explicitly call for the end of the Ubuntu phone, but the Ubuntu phone is built on Unity and its touch interface. So
it'll probably just wither away.
I don't know, maybe.
But all is not lost for Unity, though, because as I think we briefly discussed, there's a company, I believe it's UB Ports, community. That's a team of developers. They're going to be porting Canonical's Ubuntu Touch mobile operating system to various widely used mobile phones. I think they're already doing it, actually. The Fairphone 2. And then 1+1. They announced that they're going to try to keep it alive.
Yeah.
Stat.
I seen an announcement on Reddit that they're also doing a call for new names for it. They might rename the project. So
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Kind of a fresh start.
Tunity.
Yeah.
I'm not against it.
Oh, or maybe just take all the letters and shake them up and see what you get.
Yeah. I get a link though to Mark Shuttleworth's Google post. I'll put that in the show notes.
Okay, good
Because he
idea.
posts it all on Google Plus, or you can just go to Google Plus and dig through all of his postings. That's where he posts stuff. By the way, Google Plus is still a thing.
Yeah, still there. Let's see. So yeah, that was one that I saw. And then also, there's a Linux distro called Tanglu, and it kind of made a little bit of a splash about I think a year or two ago, a couple years ago actually, and it kind of fell off the. Well, I won't say it fell off the map, but it got fairly quiet. I mean, they had done a few updates, and then they talked about the fact that the progress of the project had slowed down significantly, and the lead developer kind of took some responsibility for that. And he said one of the biggest challenges they have is attracting new developers and members and keeping them engaged, because you've got to have a plan that takes time to put one together and kind of a vision. And if you're not attracting new developers, or a lot of them, then things are just not going to move forward. And, say someone like myself who's not a developer but is interested in participating, there's only so much I can do. And then, of course, to mentor new people, that requires time. And so they were talking about all of those factors that make it a little more difficult for them. So that kind of caught my eye, because I remember seeing it and I was curious about how they were going to do. I think they were also one of the early ones that participated in System D, I think, as I recall. Or was that done in lieu of it? I don't know. But anyway, I just wanted to share that and what's going on with Tanglu. They're certainly not dead, but yeah, they started in early 2013 when the System D debate at Debian was still hot. So they wanted to create a Debian derivative for workstations with a time-based release schedule. So there you have it.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome. And then the other thing I want to mention is that anybody who listens from Dallas, there was a crowdsourced alarm clock we heard.
Yes.
Apparently some hackers got in and set off a whole bunch of alarms in the middle of the night.
That's always fun. The sirens, like the tornado siren alarm. Okay, as we know them here.
Yeah,
tornadoes in there?
They set up
in Dallas.
Yeah, they set up a bunch of them. They set them off, and that reminds me. You remember from Mr. Robot when that woman came home and all of a sudden that her IoT connected house or condo, whatever. Yeah, everything started going off. I thought of that immediately when I read this story. So yeah, that was a little news item anyway about what's going on down in Dallas. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that last week the government sent a demand to Twitter. A demand. They actually wanted Twitter to unmask an account holder that apparently was sending anti-Trump administration tweets. But unfortunately, I think that whoever sent this to Twitter thought they could just send it. It was not signed by a judge, which apparently is needed. And they were citing a section of federal law granting border officials the power to investigate importation taxes.
What?
So they had sent this thing out thinking that perhaps Twitter would fall for it and then say, okay.
Oh, you know what this is? I know who this is now. This guy, he's been creating fake Twitter accounts and taunting Trump, and he starts fake news things and got Trump to retweet one of them. That's what made him mad. And that's what started all. I know the story now. I'm in my head. Yeah. So late on Friday, and so then Twitter sued the government because they said that this was going to be it's a free speech issue, and it's not related to taxes or whatever this was at all as far as importation taxes. And then apparently late Friday night, the government withdrew its demand. So it caught my eye. I thought it was pretty interesting and just wanted to share that. Yes. Welcome to National Unicorn Day. Crazy things have happened.
Yep. That's so anyway, gents, that's my news. I got, later I'll have Katie Corner when we get to that point.
All right.
Around the Twitterverse, though, there's a new application called Mastodon. If anybody's heard of that, it's an implementation of this thing called GNU Social. And GNU Social, it's a Unix philosophy, small program, do a small specific job. It uses a federated social network. You can install it on your own computer, only allow access to specific people or whoever you want to give access to. But Mastodon, instead of calling a tweet, they call it a toot.
Oh, the jokes. Oh, the jokes.
Not to toot its horn about it. You don't call it a retweet. You call it a boost. But
did you say a toot or a tooth?
A toot.
T-O-O-T.
Okay.
Talking to a friend, you can call a subtweet a subtoot.
Or just a response.
All right.
Fun stuff.
Tony's tired of it.
No, I'm just. It's not a big deal.
Well, that's what he
know.
thinks of your story, Phil.
No. Not
Tony,
trying to make a big deal of anything.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm going for the joke value.
All right.
Very little value there, apparently. So it's like Twitter, but it's called Mastodon, is what you're saying.
Yes, I think
Tony,
it was developed.
I'm not doing this, Tony, to torture you. I promise. Huh.
It's free to use. You can install it on pretty much any device you want.
So-
I've not tested it yet.
So you can fart around with it.
Yes.
I've actually.
There's a few class people, and I chose not to go that route.
I had
Tom.
to.
That's all right. That's all right. It's pretty funny. Actually, I just Googled Mastodon toot. Tom, that's for you. Linux, and apparently there's a Mastodon Linux. It says Mastodon Linux dead or will it rise again? This is but this is dated 2002. Oh my goodness. So well, that's interesting.
Actually, I've been interested in running things like that, and every time I think about doing it, then I can never get enough people together to actually use it.
Yes, that's kind of my problem. Same thing. Like we could probably use it, but then we see each other all the time, and we wouldn't use it enough. And then I'm like, oh yeah, everyone else is on Twitter, so I'm gonna go tweet.
Right.
Apparently,
what's the other one that was around for a while and then they imploded?
Quitter?
No, it was Identica.
Oh yeah.
And so I had signed up for that, and then there was only a few people that I knew on that, and I ended up
You're
never
on Twitter,
using
aren't
it.
you?
Yeah.
I'm on Twitter. I tweet every day.
You do?
Yeah, lots of stuff.
I'm never on Twitter.
If you care about seeing the things that McDonald's and Walmart and stuff post on Twitter, well, you can find them on Mastodon now because they're tooting away about all their stuff. I think it was McDonald's said, "We're hip too. We're here."
All right.
Okay. Wow, we didn't think we'd get that much mileage out of Mastodon.
It's a lot of mileage.
Thanks, Phil. All right,
Okay.
who's got news? Who's got news?
You want me to go or Phil to go or
Whoever wants.
I'll go.
Sure.
All right. You paused.
Snooze, you
And
lose.
you
I
got the
guess.
Mastodon there. It's still
Yeah.
the funniest thing. We'll start with the BrickerBot. And this is actually kind of clever. So BrickerBot is following off of the other MariNet botnets and using sets of default credentials. And we talked about a person using this type of code before to go around and finding unsecure devices and securing them. So we had the good guy hacker that went and just disabled things that were insecure. Well, someone said, I'm sick of insecure things and I'm sick of things attacking things because everyone leaves them at the default password. So BrickerBot logs in with default credentials and bricks IoT devices, writes bad firmware to them, basically turns them all off. So if you have an insecure IoT device, and it's nice, it's not turning up. The nice thing is he's not turning them into giant attack nets like these other ones that people leave them open. It literally just bricks them. So bye-bye bad IoT. I think this is actually kind of a clever thing. So I'm not mad.
Hey, Tom, speaking of bricking things, and when I saw it, I just had to laugh. It was actually on CNET, and somebody had done they had done. Of course, I posted in Google Plus, and I said "Payback's a brick." But anyway, it was a review of a garage door opener, and the reviewer had posted a bad review of it, so the company bricked
Yes.
their garage
Really?
opener. Yes.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yes. Yeah, you got to check my Google Plus post, Tony. You get the pithy comments. Pithy, Pithy.
Yeah.
So, that's me, you guys.
Oh,
I'm very sorry.
Okay, we're looking around. I'm like, I got music.
No, I did. I went to the CNET website, and the autoplay suddenly it's playing, and I didn't realize. Technica, called a garage it. It connects to an iPhone app to open and close your garage door. So how could you ever live without such a thing? So so he took to the community board. Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't exactly a review, but it was sort of he installed the iPhone off and on, wondering what kind of piece of I purchased here. Well, I guess the company showed him by breaking it. So actually,
My garage door opener. I care about this.
the wireless. So
Like
you have to exit your.
That must be really cold in the winter.
Where
I
do
don't
you?
even park in the garage.
Well, wait a minute.
But I disabled it so I can. You have to press a button inside my garage. in
Oh,
order
so
for it to
you
open.
have to access it by a
Right.
door
Yes.
that you have a key for.
Right.
Okay.
So you can't just unlock my garage door from the street.
Well, somebody can't drive around with an opener just seeing what doors
because those
open.
are so easy to make.
Yeah.
The universal garage door openers, they're not hard. They only use 4 dip switches. Yeah. It doesn't take much. Very little entropy in that.
And that means that there are only 4 different code possibilities.
16.
16.
Oh.
Binary.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
knew
it.
that.
So to make a device that sends out all 16 codes at once and watch all the garage doors open in the neighborhood is funny. But
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
anyways, NSA Equation Group, the shadow brokers. We've talked about this before. This is some of the tools and includes some Linux kits. Well, they released a password for it last night. So now we have access to those NSA tools. Snowden's tweeting about it. It was a matter of time before they basically posted on GitHub. It didn't have the password. Now they added the password to it. So now we can download all of it. So run over to GitHub and get your copy of the NSA hacking tools.
Sweet.
So there was also something in the news several months ago where the government wanted Apple to release a master key for the iPhone. And the computer community said, no, this is a terrible idea because what stops everyone else from using that master key to unlock all the rest of the iPhones?
Exactly. And
Well,
this is
here
it.
we are.
Exactly. Yeah.
They can't keep a secret. That's kind of the problem.
Who?
The government.
Well, I thought they kept the secret. Somebody hacked in there.
They can't keep a secret.
All right. Yeah, I see your point.
So yeah. PIA VPN, we talked a little bit before the show. I did that video that I said I put a link in the show notes to that, how to protect your internet and on PF SenseBox. There's lots of people worried about it because ISPs are undoubtedly going to start selling stuff. DaVinci Resolve released a Linux version, and what DaVinci Resolve is not just your average video editor. This is what small film studios use for video editing.
Oh.
And so we're actually seeing a big migration, I think, from there's not a new Mac. And you take some of the top people that are into some of the video editing, and you see them using these old, like the trash can Mac. And it's because Mac's not really progressing any further in that, whether or not they're going to release anything. And video editing people are not ready for Windows 10 and to have a system that reboots randomly in the middle of a video editing session. So I think you're seeing more on Linux, and that's probably got companies like DaVinci offering a Linux version now, which is pretty impressive. They've primarily been popular on the Mac platform. They do have a Windows version, but they've opened it up to some others. So that's really showing, I think, that we're going to see more and more in the Linux range. It also supports the company has all kinds of supports for symmetric multi-processing, server farming it out to do 4K rendering. They've got all the high-end features that you would expect out of there. And just to give you an idea of what some of their devices, because they have like a hand control device to help with color grading, $29,000 for the box.
Jeez.
So they are not your average, and to think that they're actually supporting Linux. And from what I understand from the forums, they're fairly active about people if they have any problems explaining how to do it and being well supported. So we're seeing, when you start seeing companies like that start having Linux versions of their product, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Shows a lot, and they're giving it away for free because they want to sell you accessories and things like that. So the core application itself is being given away for free. I don't think they open sourced it, but at least you can get it. Not the easiest video to use, but it's got a lot of high-end features, and it competes with like After Effects and your high-end Adobe products. And this was great. So we've come such a long way. And so I have a link to, and because the website is still active, which I thought was great, it is 1010.co.uk, and it's how, in 2007, how to edit video with Linux and Emacs. And basically, it's opened up in Emacs and using all these standard tools that were way more advanced now, and I believe all these commands will still work, to process video, and using command line tools to cut and splice based on time codes to re-stitch videos together and do your own video editing project. There's an entire tutorial on here from 2007 on how to do that in Linux. It's command line video editing.
So when's Emacs going to become its own OS?
Command line video editing. You know, Tony, doesn't that remind you of is it Image Magic, where you can from the command line, and that's probably nothing more than that, because a video is nothing more than a series of pictures.
Series of pictures.
Exactly.
That's what it does. It cuts and splices them together.
Sure.
And I'm just like watching.
Nice.
So there's a YouTube video he has embedded in there from that long ago as well, showing how he edited the video.
Yeah.
With it. It was great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just like, we've come so far in 10 years. Red Hat's making money, we mentioned. Linked in an article there. So it's more than a press release. Like I said, there's not as much excitement going around Red Hat, but making money is important. They're kind of a pillar of the Linux community. And the fact that they're profitable means they will probably be around for a while, because unprofitable things have a tendency to disappear.
That's right. Or go bankrupt.
Or go bankrupt.
4 times.
You can't get that venture capital money that you just kind of it flows through, like with businesses that have no ideas. Like, we're just going to float on venture capital. When are you going to make money? Well, we're going to call another venture. We're going to get a round 3 of funding. That's our money making plan.
Right.
Like,
Or I don't know if you guys talked about this last time, but I think it was at Snap that just had their IPO. And for a while they had more value than, I want to say, GE or GM or some really large company that has a real product.
Wow.
It was kind of amazing when you think about it. Now I think Snap is, and I really don't keep up with them because I don't trade or invest in them, but I think they've kind of come back down to earth as far as value, where it's not like that. But for a while it did, and it's kind of crazy.
Well,
they're not even profitable.
No, and the reason for going public is because they got enough venture capital to get them to where they are, and then you need to go public to get more venture capital investors and other outside investors, and spread your losses across many people.
Right.
Yeah, well, and then there's this. Twitter, who's been out there as a public company for a few years, if they're not profitable, how is Snap going to change that paradigm and, as a social media company, and become profitable?
I don't think they are. And Facebook tried to buy them. They wouldn't sell to Facebook. I
think that was a mistake.
Well, they will be when everyone loses.
I don't like Facebook, but
because Facebook has, since the loss, basically done everything Snap does. They do all the same features. They do the real-time facial mapping. They do all those things that they liked in Snapchat. They just built them all into the latest version of Messenger. I'm actually on the beta of all the Facebook stuff you can sign up to be on, so you have the early releases. It's amazing. Like, all the features on there, because even my daughter's looking and goes, "What? That doesn't look like Snapchat. I didn't see that on your Snapchat, Dad." And I'm like, "It's because it's Facebook." She goes, "Facebook has that now?" And I'm like, "Yep."
Yeah.
So they basically copied everything they're doing. They have their stories and everything. So yeah. So I think they're gonna go. Yeah.
Hey, but speaking of Twitter, they have those promoted things. Okay, who looks at Twitter besides me?
Yeah, I'm on there
a little bit.
Yeah, about once a day.
Okay.
I get linked to it.
You see those Amazon deals that come through?
Yeah.
I have to confess, I clicked on one and I ended up buying it. It was a power strip. It was a nice little power strip that's kind of squarish. It's squarish and it looks like it fit nicely on a desk. It's got 4 power places to plug in. And then it's got a couple of nice little USB things all just rolled into one. And it does so in a very nice footprint. And it was like $8. Now it was on sale. I have a feeling they weren't moving at 20 some bucks, so they reduced them.
Yeah. See, you could have done advertising works, targeted ads, but
Yeah.
they're effective and you got a deal on something.
Yeah.
So they're not all bad. Bash shell checker, and I assumed Phil would already have this installed because it's pretty cool. It checks your bash scripts to make sure you do them. So it's instead of spell check, it's shell check. And it's in the
and then you'll be shell shocked after you see what it did.
Yes, Phil shell shocked on there. And here's a fun one that maybe Phil, because he's such a DevOps guy. So there's a story in here. A sysadmin got curious and turned out broke a system doing this. He decided, everyone uses dev null to send things somewhere. Mm-hmm. So he put dev null, removed it as a device and turned it into a text file to see what people are putting into it.
Dev null?
Really?
Yeah.
Now this is where the fun begins, because of course, immediately we filled the system up because everyone's dumping things as a multi-user hosted system, and it started filling up so quick that they had to do something about it before it completely filled the hard drive. And then it turns out you can't just recreate the node, and there's some trivia in there. So he actually had to go back to a backup and restore the backup so he could restore dev null from backup. So in case anyone ever wants to try and delete dev null, don't. Phil's going, wow. I wonder.
Look at Phil's face. Just like,
I want to go play with this.
Yes. Yeah. The link is in the show notes for that. So that was kind of clever. I've never thought about it. So that's
for anybody else who does continuous integration, putting shell check into something like Jenkins or Travis CI to check your shell scripts before you actually publish them, really, really good idea. Mostly it's going to yell at you about quoting your variables and stuff. But hey, that's helpful, and you could avoid a Steam problem that Valve had a couple years ago, where installing a certain game destroyed a person's system because of an unset variable. So removing the game, it would remove / because the variable was unset.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
So at the bottom of my show notes are LastPass hacked again, and it was an interesting hack, and it comes.
LastPass was hacked again.
Yes, but I hacked is really not the right term for it, because that's the title a lot of people had, but it really the better title was an exploit was found and fixed again in LastPass.
Right.
Because the wonderful, crazy security researcher Tavis Ormandy had a shower thought. And I know this because he tweeted it. He says, I got out of my shower and found a fundamental flaw with LastPass. That was his Twitter account. And of course, he's been criticized before about how he discloses vulnerabilities, and his answer is, I didn't disclose anything other than I found a fundamental problem with LastPass. Trust me, everyone's already looking at LastPass because they're by far the largest password management system out there. But what he had found, and they fixed it, what he called a fundamental problem is a fundamental problem with the way Java is written. And because apparently, and I'm not a programmer, but in the Java, you don't have the same concepts that you do in other programming languages of namespaces that are clearly defined per program. So there's a shared DOM namespace. And because of that, LastPass was not declaring variables, and they would declare the variables as needed and check for declared variables to make determinations of how the program was going to function. So if you were to go in and know those variables and declare your own variables as an attacker and create a fake website, it could lie about that website being the real website to LastPass. So let's say they did a validation. Am I really at facebook.com? And you set a variable to say, oh yeah, this abc.com is really facebook.com, and you declare that variable that it's true, and because it was undeclared, they find it declared, they go, oh, okay, we'll go ahead and fill in passwords. So it was a fundamental flaw. The resolve for this turned out to be adding somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 declared variables to the beginning of LastPass to declare all the Java variables so that attack can't occur. So that's the best I can explain it without getting too technical, but I was fascinated reading
that's good enough for me.
Detail, yeah. But it's an interesting thing, and I still use LastPass. Once again, I like the fact that I got someone like Tavis just beating away at it, finding the most obscure things that could go wrong. But I'm willing to bet you'll see a code update from all the other password managers, because I bet that because they're all written in JavaScript, And
sure.
I bet they all go, oh, we didn't declare it either, but they're not going to get a CVE because they're going to fix it unannounced, and they're all closed source, so you never know. So that's kind of my opinion on that. And the last thing I have is There was a good read on Reddit. And I'm always looking for a good debriefing.
And you read it.
I read it on Reddit. Anyways, always looking for a good debriefing when companies get hacked, because right now the biggest targets are small businesses, because, well, all the big businesses have been hit and they've all kind of go, okay, I guess we got to spend a little money on security. So they got a little better at it. So we're, we don't see Target in the news or Home Depot in the news again for getting hacked. Not as often. But small businesses are under heavy attack because they spend no money on security, and also it doesn't get reported, so people don't know about it. So I love when someone takes the time to do a debriefing. And I've thought about even building a website for small business debriefings, for let sysadmins post anonymously about it, because we can all benefit from the knowledge. And this guy posted anonymously about, he goes, I'm the sysadmin, company got hit. We got hit hard. And they had to pay the ransom, $15,000. But the hacker had a bonus for him. And he not only would help them decrypt everything for the $15,000, he would also, if they paid all of it, give them their own debrief of how he did it. So he did.
Oh.
And turns out they had a weird firewall system. I love when someone tries to write their own security.
So it wasn't clicking on a link, employee clicking on a link.
Wasn't.
Okay.
That's part of the problem when you don't have a debrief, and the hacker doesn't tell you. As I know another recent company that was hit, the only thing they could do is roll back their systems. That's what they did. But they have no idea how they got hit, and they got hit again within 3 weeks. And they still don't know how they got hit the second time. So somehow someone's getting in the systems. No one knows how. They're not my client. I'm trying to win them as my client because we think the other IT. I have friends that work there, so I know all this. Anyways, but the debrief on this was, turns out some sysadmin, one of the others, they have an admin team, big company, had created an account called Backup and used a weak password. So a password guesser of Backup and some weak password was able to get in the system. And then he broke down how from there he escalated all the privileges and what tools he used to get in there and basically corrupt all the things across all the network. But it was not supposed to be an open RDP port into here. And the reason it was is because they have a custom written firewall system that someone came up with. And so it's not really well understood, but they said, but we're one guy in the company.
Wow.
IP tables in Windows Firewall aren't the hardest things in the world.
Yeah. Or, I've been a big fan of pfSense for a long time. And one of the reasons why is when you look at the rule tables, they're very plain English to read of what passes from where to where.
Yeah.
And I hate SonicWalls. I've had a lot of clients that are using them. And that's my aggravation with SonicWall is the ambiguity of it. And even my people who I know sell SonicWall, when I've asked them questions, are like, oh, yeah, that's one of the reasons I hate SonicWall. That's like always the response.
I sell it, but I hate it. Is that what
Yeah, that's kind of like, yeah, it does have that bug. Yeah, it does kind of hard to figure out the rules because we had a rule set we couldn't figure out before.
Hey, but we make money off support.
That's kind of what it is. And anytime you have a firewall that's not clearly understood by the sysadmin, you're in the danger zone of it being misconfigured. So that's the kind of the breakdown of what happened to them. But it did cost them $15,000, lots of downtime, and because everything was so encrypted, they didn't have the best backup system. But the guy was in there for a while, watching and waiting. So that's the biggest thing is he watched, waited, and then hit. And that's actually happening quite a bit more now, where they get in there and wait till they find something of real value. Or there was stories other people had shared where they got in there and knew that they had a 30-day rollback on their backups. So they disinfected everything with timers to wait 40 days. So when they did roll back, they had no way to roll back to systems that were prior to that state of that system being in there. And once you don't know how you got hit and you roll back and you get hit again in a week, it was probably still left in there.
Yeah.
So
at that point, you want to just go back to tablet and paper. Tablet and pen.
Yeah. I tell
God.
you, and I don't know of any for small businesses and sysadmins because they're so scared to spill the beans on how they got hit. It's a big source of embarrassment.
I think, Tom, that makes perfect sense to set up some kind of set a site up that's available to businesses, and that the anonymous you take anonymous information as far as.
Just we want to debrief on it. We want to know because it benefits all of us to understand what happened. I mean, there's the obvious. They clicked on the link things, but the sophisticated nature of these hackers is just it's at a level that's really impressive.
Yeah, it's getting really high there, and it's hard. Security is hard, and to be able to learn from each other is important. So I agree.
I talked with another security guy I know that does breach forensics. And they now have some of the hackers hiring accountants because
so much money.
No, oddly enough,
so much money from
they go steal they break into small businesses tax software and then use their tax software and their tax filing ID to impersonate the tax preparer companies, and then they adjust for the most amount Now they have to adjust it in a way so that if they stole your identity, adjust for the largest return that the IRS won't flag. So they've actually contracted consultants to understand how to remanipulate your tax information so your filing gives them a better return, but not so good of a return that the IRS would hold it. So they're taking stolen identity to a new level, not just filing a tax return and getting whatever, but getting the maximum return, jumped into another bank account, sent checks places. Yeah.
We're going to siphon off just fractions of these pennies.
Yeah.
And you do it with enough businesses, and you get yourself a nice little income.
Yep. And it's just the insanity of it all is crazy because they're very clever. They're not, they understand how to use the software, understand how to log in, back up, and export. So they get RDP access, and they understand how to go in, set up exports of the utilities. So they're familiar with the tools themselves and how to escalate and create other admin users within the tax utilities.
Well, why would a small business want to put their taxes on a computer that has access to the internet?
Don't know any better.
They really don't. They want to work from home. I mean,
no, I think it should go the other way. Tell me a small business that doesn't do that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or
All right.
Yeah. It's scary out there. We'll just leave it at that.
And a lot of them either do it on QuickBooks or on TurboTax or something. And that's all online, anyways. How do you update the tax information for when you're doing your employees' checks?
Send a batch file by postal service.
No, I mean, how do you update when the U.S. government changes the rates? Quicken has a button. Quicken button has a button saying click.
Yeah. Well, with convenience comes risk.
Exactly.
Oh, has anyone ever said that before? With convenience comes risk.
Yes.
Okay.
It's still a good saying.
All right.
Who's next? Phil?
I've got one last thing. It's for hopefully not every.
You already talked about Mastodon. No.
This is different too. Android and iOS devices that run with Broadcom chips are vulnerable to Wi-Fi attack. Just this attack came out April 5th, so 4 days ago now. What happens is a malicious Wi-Fi frame causes a buffer overflow and allows an attacker to run unsigned code directly from the heap. Apple patched this in iOS 10.3.1, but there's still a lot of Google Nexus phones and any other Android that runs a Broadcom wireless chip that's vulnerable to this.
That's so funny because I use an old. Now I'm gonna sidestep this a little bit, but I use in my distro reviews I use an older computer that has a Broadcom chip, and half the time I can't even get wireless working. So I found it very funny that you're talking about Broadcom chips have this wireless. It's sort of like Broadcom and wireless, as far as Linux is concerned, or Linux-like operating systems.
They're very popular.
Broadcom.
Yeah.
Not in my book, sorry.
Well, I still don't have a patch for it. I was just checking my system.
How can you find out? How can you find out what chip you're using on your? Is there?
Google.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Somewhere in settings about this phone, it should be able to tell you.
Oh, okay. I was wondering.
Information.
Okay, I know where that is. I've used that before.
Now, the scary thing about this is they were able to successfully execute this hack against a fully patched Nexus 6P, which is one of their newer phones before they switched to Pixel. So it's out there and it's happening.
That's crazy. Don't connect to any unknown Wi-Fi's.
Yep, pretty much. For the time being, until you see something come down the pipe from Google that says, "Hey, generic patch."
Yeah, I did see in Google that there's a patch coming for it right away. Google patched it, but it's apparently not rolled out yet because I have an Nexus 6P.
Will we get it on the 5X or lower versions of Android phones?
Do you have a 5X?
I do.
The 5X and 6P are the same platform.
Okay.
They're just different
5X?
screens. Yeah,
okay.
And Google updates both of those. Now Google's abandoning the 7. What was it? The Nexus 6. It's just called 6 without another initial after it. Someone made a hysterical video on it.
Hey, I want you to know this phone went to Iceland and made it back without falling in water.
That is better than the last one.
That's right.
Sorry,
Well,
Tony,
Tony's got
you
it.
don't get a new phone this time.
Right.
Oh.
All right.
Tony, is that battery indicator still only show half?
Yep.
But you kind of learned to live with it, right?
Yeah, as long as I just plug it in all the time. No, it still works great.
Does it?
The
Good.
phone.
You
I
got a
have no
good
complaints
deal.
other than
You
that.
got a good deal out of that.
Yeah.
I got an old Dell laptop. No, I am kidding. I go for the joke value.
Yeah.
Actually,
All right.
those laptops are pretty solid. I got to tell you, they
Yeah,
really
I
are.
really like them.
Yeah. So
So what do you got, Tony?
All right. So I have one Raspberry Pi hat. They make all these little things.
hat or hack?
Hat.
Hat?
Yeah.
Hat?
So,
Cool.
it's a little
okay. I
board
was
that goes
making
on
a
'em.
joke. Really?
And it does it's an audio one. So you can plug in, it's 1/4-inch jack. You can plug in microphones and headphones and there's gain on it and MIDI. It says it does a 192K kilohertz and 24-bit audio and MIDI on it. So I thought it looked really cool.
If it does more than 8-bit audio, I'm not interested.
It's called Pi Sound. And it has little volume controls right on it. And, it looks really nice. So I'll have.
And that's PISOUND.
Correct. I'll throw the link in the IRC.
Oh, you could use this for an audio file system. Like if you're running Volumio. It's a really cool it's a really cool piece of software you can run on a Pi to control a record player, CD, like stuff.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then
Wow, this is
yeah, that is really cool. I was thinking of being podcasters, that this would be a simple way to do
a podcast.
do a podcast, either record in a podcast or to have a little like standalone microphone or what am I trying to think of? What's the chat thing, the open source chat server that you can tech to. No, chat like sound, like audio chatting.
Looks like they have an Indiegogo too.
Mumble servers.
Oh, Mumble servers. Oh,
yeah. So you can have like a standalone Mumble server sitting there, or a Mumble client, I guess, instead of having a separate client.
Yeah, they have an Indiegogo too. So
yeah.
Wow, they've reached 27,000 so far.
It started on April 28th. No, is it ending April 28th?
Probably ending, Tony.
They have 19 days left. Yeah.
Did they?
Their
blew
objective 390%. So yeah, they're 4 times over almost.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, my next one is was actually another link about the iPhone Wi-Fi hack thing, but we talked about that. So the next one, after Congress revoked the internet privacy rules.
Oh, we never talked about that.
Yeah,
that was a big thing.
Downloads doubled for the VPN-equipped Opera browser.
I have Opera VPN on my phone.
Yeah,
and PIA has a plugin for Chrome. I haven't tried it. I'm gonna do some analysis because I'm gonna turn with NTOP and pfSense. I'm gonna turn on full packet capture and see what goes through the data stream when you use the Chrome browser with their plugin. For
I was thinking the same thing because
that would be
DNS
interesting.
requests are still sent out through the system, right?
They're supposed to have an option to turn off DNS leaks on it, and I've seen checkbox. So I just didn't have time to test this. I don't spend so much time in Windows, so I got to spin up some virtual machines just to test it.
Yeah. That'd be nice.
Yeah, they support torrenting, so I got 2 other things.
Anyway, so they're saying that the downloads doubled from when March 28th to March 30th.
To kind of dovetail off that, which is really annoying, and there's an article on Vice about this, and beware, people. There's tons of companies out there advertising VPNs that aren't even VPNs at all. And they're just basically telling you we'll protect all your internet privacy for $29.95 type stuff. And apparently
we'll clean your computer for
you'll clean out your bank account for $29.95. No, there's a bunch of scammy companies popping up and buying ads everywhere right now because VPN is it took no time at all for me to post a video and have 4,000 views on just because I mentioned VPN. It's apparently really, really a hot topic, trending. Everyone's Googling it. I even seen there's articles this morning, even the big news organizations are talking about it, which of course just means the scammy companies are Yeah.
Mhm.
Damn it. Beware.
So the internet privacy rules. From what I was listening,
I heard that Verizon, right after that happened, I heard Verizon pushed out something to their customers.
Yeah.
that doesn't surprise me.
They just turned it all back on.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it actually never went into effect yet, but
Right.
it deterred companies from moving forward with it because they're like, well, it's going to be blocked in soon anyways.
Right. So when they found out it wasn't, they can turn it all back on.
That's right.
Steal
Yes.
all the things.
All right. Is that our news or you got more?
I have one more. Where is it? I do have one more.
I'm searching for it right now.
There is a botnet that targets WordPress accounts.
Yes.
And now, is this the first time ever? This happens all the time, doesn't it?
They have, well, there's a specific botnet that does it.
Oh,
I think
okay.
previously that you could turn on or turn a botnet toward it and things like that. But this one's called SatterBot, SATHUR bot, Satter.
Satterbot.
Yeah. So it's, it's you got to keep your WordPress stuff updated.
As
you know,
someone who
and keep your
fixes
account safe.
unupdated WordPress updates.
Right, exactly.
Between that and the Joomla ones, we are getting so many calls on people who have like 7 or 8 year old installs of Joomla. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Because one guy's like, I don't want to get a new website. I want you to secure this one. I'm like, I can't. You're running a just outdated version of Joomla and there's no upgrade path. Sorry.
Yeah.
His website was done in 2012. There's nothing I can do about it. We're fixing 2 of them right now. We're done in 2010. I can't. They have 3 websites.
When you say fixing,
we're redoing them.
Okay.
Reusing the content. They like their website. They're not unhappy with it, but it's now getting hacked.
Yeah.
What the puzzling part is, there's 3 websites, and one keeps getting hacked. Like as soon as we restore it, because we have a backup copy of it, it gets hacked within a few minutes. The other 2 come. I guess just no traffic. The bots haven't discovered them.
Oh.
They're perfectly fine. They're like, well, these ones are fine. I'm like, no, for now. Like they just haven't attacked them yet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
I read only everything, and it didn't even help. Like they take Joomla apart pretty quick.
Yeah. What I see in here that really caught my eye is that it says that this botnet can self-update itself and then download to run other things. So that tells me that you can't just update now and think you're safe.
Right.
You constantly have to be checking for updates and make sure that you always have security patches installed.
And we use WordFence on top of that. That's kind of our go-to tool. It's any website we host, we have WordFence on.
Yeah,
it does a great job. They have a special firewall they add to the HT access when you set it up. There's a lot of little things you have to do to WordFence. It also has all kinds of country blocking things, and they're using distributed knowledge. So as they see an attack, they automatically are updating the rules hourly to all the other websites to stop the attack. So if they see a certain IP, it bans it on everyone using WordFence. So they're crowdsourcing the knowledge. They have like a cool dashboard that's talking about the attacks. Their blog is actually really good to read.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a WordPress command line tool just called WP-CLI. It makes for really, really easy updates of WordPress major, minor, and patch level versions. If you were so inclined to, you could throw that into a cron job.
You can also just they added a command switch in the later versions of WordPress now that'll force auto updates.
Well,
interesting.
isn't there a problem though if a site has various modules that may have been externally developed, so really it seems to me that these folks should really have a little virtual machine that has their site so they can test it before it goes live. And if there's a problem.
Is a very, very difficult product to secure because it's built on so many different modules. And one of those modules, we had a problem with one of the clients, something we could do because the module itself was built on a really old Java library and it hadn't been updated in 4 years. So we had to get rid of that module to keep the website from getting hacked, which was kind of aggravating because they had
That's probably a cool little capability.
They had done a lot with that type. It was some old widget that did the slides, but it hadn't been updated, so it was easily exploited. And there's no way to update it because the developer abandoned it. So then you have to redo all the content in another slider. So there's a lot of, you can't just fix it. You have to put the effort into it. And then people get mad. Well, I already paid him. I would sit down. I want to pay again. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, and we got caught in that because we did a website for a guy and all the plugins we used we did it in 2011. A plugin now is deprecated and it's getting hacked. And we fixed the hack because we have a backup, but we had to disable it. Now functionality is missing and he's mad because he doesn't want to pay again.
Sure.
We all have a testing environment. Just for some of us, it doesn't happen to be production.
Yeah. Mine's all production. That's how we find out.
All right.
The
All right.
internet's
Anything
kind
else?
of that.
No, that was it for what I found.
Okay. So now it's time for
It's time to go on to.
KDE Corner. Take
Yeah.
your
We don't have a
take
sound
your
for it.
finger off that soundboard, Tony.
KDE Corner.
I had a yeah. Actually, I've got a couple of things, and this is one that I talked about, I think, last year. It is that Vault. KDE. It's in Plasma. Boy, I tell you what, I'm not using a mouse, and so I have to be careful where. I'm not using a hand mouse. I'm using my track thing, and if I start to do stuff, my pages jump around. But anyway, let me just get back to this because no one's interested in that. The Plasma Vault is it's a way to secure folders or documents of folders, directories, etc., inside the Plasma workspace. And I became aware of it last year and talked a little bit about it. But that project is moving along to the point now where they're looking at different encryption mechanisms and making, I think, more than one available for people who are going to use this. And one thing that the developer said as far as this Plasma Vault is concerned is that he doesn't want to have people think of it as a all or none situation where, why use this when you can just encrypt your whole partition or your whole drive. He says that you could just use both, where you've got the drive encrypted, but you may have a directory or a set of files that are encrypted in Plasma Vault that if somebody else is going to use your system, they've got use of it, but they just don't have access to these important tax papers or, whatever you happen to be protecting there. But the backends, as far as the encryption that he currently has available, he's got, is it ENCFS?
Yeah, that's what you get when you
It's
do
a folder.
encrypted home directory.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, you can't run an NFS mount out of that.
Okay.
That's something that I ran into yesterday.
Yeah.
Playing with a tool.
Okay, so he's got that. He also is using, is it called, I want to say CryFS, CRYFS, which is, he characterized it as a more modern fuse-based overlay file system. It doesn't have the problems that NCFS did, ENCFS. So, so that's now available as far as an encryption mechanism for these Plasma Vaults. And then there's a newer one that he's adding. It's called Tomb. It's such an era finality, doesn't it? Tomb. He said, though it's considered experimental, and in order to enable it, in the first Plasma Vault release, you're going to need to add a couple lines to a configuration file. But he said that unlike ENCFS and CryFS, Tomb does not create an overlay file system. So it's just a simple script that makes it easy to create encrypted container files. So, as I said, this continues to be developed, and I'm really kind of curious about this because I may just see if it's to the point where I can go ahead and install it and check it out and maybe report back on it. But I wanted to share that little update on Vault. And again, this is available in KDE, of course, because we're in KDE Corner right now. The other thing I wanted to mention, too, is Kden Live, which is Tom's and my favorite video editing software. They're going to have they've got a release coming out, which I think is primarily going to contain some redoing of code, because they said the project is over 10 years old. And as projects move along, code sometimes can get messy.
And they have some cleanup work to do from the way things were done 10 years ago. I mean, they've pulled it forward into the current code base. But yeah, I was reading that too. There's some updates that need to be done.
Yep. So, but anyway, so they're going to be doing that as far as this new release is concerned. They also apparently, I know that some elements of the KDE project used to be able to run on Windows, and I remember that from a few years ago. But their initial alpha release for Windows was a success. So people we're reporting back on that they've had success running it in Windows. And again, that's only their alpha release. So I guess we can look to see Kden Live available in Windows. And I kind of have mixed feelings on that myself, but
The Windows version is a little buggy.
Yeah.
I did a review of Kden Live and how a getting started video with it on the Windows users, because I replied to some of the comments, and the Windows users seem to have a lot more bugs. I said you can either run it on Linux or wait till there's an update to it. They have like little weird crash issues and overlays not working issues. But the nice thing about them opening up to the Windows world is having more users on it and more potential donors and more people using it means the development will keep progressing better. So I'm not mad at them.
Yeah,
we'll get them over to Linux.
Yes, and you know, one of the projects that that releases various effects that Kden Live uses, they just released, and this is called the Frior project.
Yes.
They just released version 1.6.0, so that's going to bring some new filters as well as crash fixes. So all packages are encouraged to upgrade. So that is something that's going to be coming out this year in an upcoming version of Kden Live. So I guess there's some good stuff coming out.
I'm hoping to get the GPU rendering fixed because it works kind of dodgy. So,
well, hopefully, if it's due to convoluted code,
yeah, it might.
Maybe it will. So, but anyway, those are a couple of things I noticed in KDE and wanted to share it with everybody. So thank you.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Mary.
You're welcome.
So normally you would have a convention scene also, but I want to mention at least one
I do.
convention.
The end of this month, we're going to be PenguinCon.
That's right.
And Tony, you have one to share?
No, that was it. Southfield, Michigan this year.
That's right. We're going to
This
be
month.
broadcasting. We're going to be podcasting from PenguinCon Sunday morning at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
Do you really think we're going to go live at 7, guys?
No, probably not.
7:05.
Okay. So that should be fun.
But yeah, keep an eye on the social medias, and I'll post it.
The social medias.
Yes. All the toots.
that's my
Look for the
word.
toots and tweets.
That's right. The toots. Well, not your toots, Tom.
No.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, thank you. And that's the Linux convention scene.
That's right. You know, actually, there's a hacker conference, or security conference.
Oh, B-Sides.
B-Sides and Converge. That's in Detroit. That's in May.
Mhm.
Is that the 18th?
Yes. At Cobo Hall. You going,
Yeah.
Phil?
Well, that'll be
Depends
on the
on the
May
day.
convention scene, which we'll do at PenguinCon. We're going to have the Linux convention scene for the month of May at PenguinCon.
That's right.
I'm committing to it.
All right.
All right. There you have it.
Well, and then there's one more that if we talk about it at PenguinCon, then people won't have time for prayer. It's
For prayer?
the prepare to
Oh.
prepare for. It's the Northwest Linux Fest.
There's no prayer required before coming to our podcast.
Right. So the week after PenguinCon, May 6th and 7th is the Northwest Linux Fest, or Linux Fest Northwest, and that's in Bellingham, Washington. So anybody wants to go out to the northwest corner of the U.S., then that's
Okay.
time to go.
All right. Thank you.
All right. I guess coming to the end. Right.
The outgoing music for this week's show.
And this week I found a song. It's called "Uplifting" by Akashic Records. And it's just yeah, it's just something that I thought sounded good. So here we go. All right. All right. So
Because you won't be able to get all of these.
All right.
all right. So that's a little uplifting
Little
music for us.
Preview for the
That's right. And I
for the
wanted,
unedited version.
yeah,
The edited version will have it nicely slid right in there in its entirety.
Yeah.
With no over talking by us.
Yeah, but I figured it's getting nice weather out for us here, and I wanted something that we could jam out to.
71 today in here in Detroit.
That's right. Okay.
So we've come to the end of the show.
Ooh.
You've been listening to
Have we?
Yeah, we have. You've been listening to the Sunday morning Linux review. This was episode 232.
Unity for Unicorns.
That's right. This is Tony Bemis.
Mary Tomich.
Tom Lawrence.
And Phil Parada.
See you next time.
You've been listening to the Sunday Morning Linux Review. If you would like more information about this or other shows, go to smlr.us. Feel free to send comments to show@smlr.us or give us a call at 734-258-7009. I'm John Miller. If you don't like it, you can
bite my 8-bit metal ass. That's bite with a Y.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. I'll play some music, and then we'll be back for our second episode, which will be on Pragmatic Linux.
Was laying on the floor when you were gone, like you were something I could die from. Now my head aches and your friends all think I'm dumb. You said it's just a bit of bad blood. I don't feel great, but it doesn't bother me, because I don't have the energy, and the x-ray doesn't tell me anything. Show me what the hell you see in me. All my time has turned to days that I will waste till my dying day. And all my bones have realigned, and now I guess it was a bad sign. I was praying to the Lord for some fun, but I guess he didn't have some. I'm betraying everything that I've become, just to prove it wasn't true love. If I'm too late, will you come and hurry me, like a kid among the dying leaves? If my heart breaks, will you drug and carry me, where we can talk about our chemistry? All my time has turned to days that I will waste till my dying day. And all my bones have realigned, and now I guess it was a bad sign. And now I guess it was a bad sign. has turned to days that I will waste till my dying day. And when I tried, I was ashamed and said I don't believe in saving face. And all my clothes are still inside and broken up in little piles. And all my bones have breathed life. And now I guess it was a bad sign. And now I guess it was a bad sign. And now I guess it was a bad sign. I wanna do my own thing, but I think I followed a trend. It's been suggested, maybe I wanna be your best friend. Yeah, blood in my eye holes and just tried hard to see. I can tell by your middle finger that you're warming up to me. Yeah. Satisfaction, yeah. Satisfaction, yeah. Satisfaction, yeah. Yeah. Satisfaction.
All right, we're coming back on for our second episode. And Mary's doing a review.
Ooh.
Did you say you were ready? You said all right. So I figured you were ready.
All right.
Or excited.
That's right. That's right. I'm doing a Linux review, as a matter of fact.
All right.
But don't be surprised if I show up with a BSD review. I just want you to know that. So.
Well, we don't mind.
Okay.
All right. So theme music, right? Theme? We need theme.
You've forgotten already?
Here we go. Maybe. Oh,
is this thing on?
Okay.
It's like you just got here.
It's still on. Right, hold on.
All right. We'll be out of here by 10:30.
Oh.
I have to be because I got my doctor stuff.
There we go. Now I have the old music turned down. Now it's time for soundboard.
The Sunday Morning Linux Review with Mary Tomich, Tom Lawrence, and Tony Bemis as the Beaver.
And this is episode 233.
Fresh looks. It's a fresh looks episode, folks.
Hey.
And this morning we're going to be taking a fresh look at something. I mean, it's so fresh that it's probably, well, it's kind of new. And I'm going to take kind of a pragmatic approach to it. Tony's laughing because he knows where I'm going with this, right? That's right. It's a fresh look at pragmatic Linux.
And you know, the first thing,
Linux is pragmatic.
Yeah, well, sometimes. The first thought when I heard just the name, I didn't look into what it was. I thought
Debian.
Yeah, isn't Debian could be renamed that?
Yes. Well, it says, you know, and actually I looked it up in the dictionary, adjective, relating to matters of fact or practical affairs, often to the exclusion of intellectual or artistic matters, practical as opposed to idealistic. The second definition, an Arch-based Linux distribution. Okay, I made that second definition up. But anyway, yep, that's right. We're looking at pragmatic Linux. I found this on distro, the distro site, DistroWatch, the distro site. How quickly I forget. But anyway, let's take a look at the vitals. As you know the name, Pragmatic Linux. The maintainer is a gentleman, a young man named Alban Malaki, and he is based in Kosovo, which is in Eastern Europe. The distro's latest birthday was March 6, 2017. It's a derivative of Arch Linux. The kernel was in the version that I'm reviewing is kernel 4.5.1-1, and the review desktop is FXCE. All right, the live environment. Well, there is no live environment. Pragmatic Linux is very well pragmatic about the boot. When you boot, you're given two options. You will get a basic grub menu, and you can either install Pragmatic Linux or you can run memtest.
Okay.
I was not in the mood to test my memory, so I chose the install route. So the whole process. Now, Pragmatic boots to a console login screen when you press, when you click install. Now, the website provides the credentials, and so I logged in as the root account just because I could. I listed the contents of the current directory and discovered a single bash script, pragmatic.sh. So I started the script and was dumped unceremoniously into a partition manager. I mean, it's just that basic CLI partition manager. And that's because Pragmatic Linux is designed for sysadmins and other experienced users, so there's no fluff. Although I will say this, in the installed version, when you're looking at the graphical interface, gparted is available if you want to have put a pretty face on it. But when you're a sysadmin, who's going to do that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, since the disk was already set up, so I had a large partition, I have a small swap partition. That's it. And that was where I wanted to install Pragmatic Linux. I decided that I wasn't going to do anything. I was going to just rewrite that table to the disk and just go and move forward like that. Now, during the CLI install, I was prompted to set up a user account. So far, so good. I had no problems there. And then the install commenced. And after it finished, I was presented with a screen that now included a reboot option, as I typically am. And so I did. Now, some distros will reboot and take you through a second part of the install where you'll set language, locale, those kinds of configuration settings. But Pragmatic Linux, there was no phase 2 of the installation where I could set those settings. My clock was automatically set to GMT, which is not a huge problem. I just subtract 4 hours, I think it is, now that we're on daylight savings time. But the language automatically was English. Now you can go into Pragmatic Linux and because it's the XFCE desktop, if you're familiar with that desktop, you can go in and make those changes, which I did a little bit later. So I did reset the clock to Eastern Daylight Time. And actually, the way I did it, I believe that I did it from the command line, as a matter of fact. So I was really geeking out with this distro. But after Pragmatic Linux is installed, it boots to a refreshingly simple yet attractive XFCE desktop. Doesn't it sound salesy? It makes all that CLI pain and suffering I went through to install it worth the while. Well, there wasn't that much, but anyway, it did look quite nice. There are two panels visible. There's Docky, which, by the way, is the finest dock that no money can buy, and that's how it's listed. It was centered at the bottom of the screen, and then the XFCE panels across the top. Interestingly, these are not the only two panels available in Pragmatic Linux, but more on that later. Several notification icons are located on the upper right corner with a well-stocked applications menu. You know what's so funny, you guys? Just as an aside, I'm stepping out of the review. I keep wanting to take my finger and push up the review on my laptop, and my laptop is not touch sensitive, so it's just sort of funny. I almost did it right then. Okay, back to the review. Now you may be wondering what standard user tools are available, and we're going to find those out. So the defaults are the browser. Well, Firefox is the default, but Chromium is also installed. The Office suite, none is installed by default, but I remedied that later during the checking of the package management system, and ultimately LibreOffice was in place by me. Mail client is Thunderbird, which is already installed. Of course, the file manager, the very own Thunar, available from FXCE. XFCE. What am I saying? XFCE. And then the terminal is their standard terminal, and then the shell, of course, is Bash. Now, speaking of the terminal, there's an amusing setup when you first run it. Of course, you've heard of Cowsay, the program that generates ASCII pictures of a cow with a message.
I love Cowsay.
Oh, by the way, I didn't know that was written in Perl either, but it is.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But when you open a terminal in Pragmatic Linux, Cowsay fires off, but it's not a cow, you see, it's Tux. So you get a little penguin there making these comments. It didn't bother me, but somebody who wants to just get down and start working and stuff, it might be a little annoying that part of your terminal real estate is initially taken up by that. Not a huge deal though. In the version that I downloaded, the ISO, the Intel i915 video driver was used. And then, of course, the Broadcom B43 is in the kernel, but there were several other files that I was going to have to install and kind of tweak in order to get my Broadcom wireless chip up and running. So, of course, I took the easy way out and just plugged in a network cable. But it certainly can be done. And if you are running an Intel wireless chip, you'll have no problem getting that thing up and running.
All right.
Just so you know. Installing and updating software can be an interesting undertaking, or it can be very boring and predictable undertaking. I like boring and predictable. Since Pragmatic Linux's underpinnings are Arch Linux, we have boring and predictable for installing and updating software, and that's a good thing. Now, Arch Linux, and by extension, of course, Pragmatic Linux, use Pacman for software and package management. Many Arch-based distros will use the graphical front end of Pacman, Octopi. I say here, unfortunately, now it's unfortunately for me, who's the eye candy girl, Pragmatic Linux is not one of those distros. So fortunately for a sysadmin or somebody just wanting to get in there and start working in the command line, you don't give a twit about a graphical front end. So if you want to update and install software, you just open a terminal, log in as root, and update your system using Pacman commands. Now, I won't go into details about how that all is done. There are plenty of tutorials and documentations on the web. However, for my review, I did install LibreOffice, and that command is as easy as typing Pacman space uppercase S space LibreOffice. That's all I had to do. And then after a few minutes of work by the computer, I just sat back and watched. I was rewarded with several menu entries for various LibreOffice components. So, again, there's no pretty graphical thing, but when you know the command line, who cares?
Right.
Now, Arch Linux fans are familiar with the Arch user repository, or AR. There must be no pirated software there. Get it? AR.
Or the AUR.
I thought that joke up last night, and I thought, oh, it's going to be a hit. Well, maybe not. Yes, it contains. It's AUR is what it is, and I've seen that written up in a number of places. But it's basically contains package descriptions that allow users to compile from source and then install via Pacman. So some folks put this stuff together.
It's similar to PPAs, right?
Kinda. Yeah. I guess that's kind of analogous to that. That's the same kind of thing. It's not part of the official Arch repository, but these are things that are done by users, and then you can go ahead and install yourself.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this tool is also available, of course, for Pragmatic Linux users. I won't go through the process to compile and install from R. But it's been around for years and is rock solid. Now, one thing I like to do when I review Linux distros, I like to kind of poke around in the menu and see what interesting programs are installed by default, because that sometimes gives you insight into the lead developer's approach to things. And I have to say that this guy, I think he likes docks and panels and toolbars, because in addition to Docky, and then, of course, the standard XFCE, and I'm saying, all right, please don't email us. I know I'm saying it wrong. XFCE panel. They also have one called DocBar X. Have you guys ever heard of that? I hadn't either. It's a lightweight task manager panel replacement. Now, it can work alone as a standalone dock. It's called DocX. And I went and opened it up, and it looked pretty good. It also can be used as an Avant Window Navigator applet. It can be used as an XFCE panel applet or as a Mate panel. So it sounds quite versatile, but it's there. It's not open and active by default, because as I mentioned, they use Docky and XFCE, but it's there in the menu, and I did open it. It installs down the left side of the display of your screen. There's another one. He also has Plank sitting in there, and I've used Plank, and it's pretty nice. It sits up at the bottom of the screen. So I went ahead and opened it, and of course it sat right on top of Docky, which made both of them marginally useful. So I had to, and unfortunately, if you've ever tried to use Plank or close it, you can't. At least I've not found a way to do it from a right-click menu to just say, hey, close this, that type of thing. So I had to just open up a terminal and just do kill all Plank, and that immediately killed it and any related processes, and I was back to normal. Anybody that knows of a better way to do that, let me know. I'll be happy to get it. Also, something that's installed there by default is something called System ADM. Now, what this is a GTK-based front end that claims to be a simpler way to manage the service files for System D. So if you can imagine a screen where you've got at the top panel that spans the top half of this window, you've got the list of processes and you can scroll through it. Then if you click on any individual one, then the bottom half of the screen will populate, showing you the various bits of information about that particular service. So you can start, stop, restart services from this. So it looked really actually quite useful if you want to get in there and start adjusting System D processes, or processes that are managed by System D. So that seemed pretty good, and that's in there by default. Another thing that was in there, which I have to confess, I've not seen this on very many distros I reviewed, and this is probably goes into the server side of it, because Pragmatic Linux is also available as a server version, and that's MySQL Workbench. Now, have you guys ever used MySQL Workbench?
Yeah, it's a free download right from their site.
Yeah, it was actually looked pretty good. Now, I've tended, when I've used MySQL, I've tended to use PHPMyAdmin.
Yeah.
And for the things that I've used, and that's worked fine. But this really looked pretty cool. And I'm just thinking, next time I want to put something together and play around with MySQL, MySQL, this MySQL Workbench seems like a really good.
It is nice. It lets you do some. I have a little confusion with how it handles views in the PHP stuff or in the MySQL tables, but it works. It will run them. I have trouble editing them with it.
Okay. Well, aren't the views just mainly kind of read only looks into the data? Or am I misinterpreting that?
You're misinterpreting, because with that, it's weird. The way it works in MySQL is there's a view you can set. So let's say I have a certain parameter. I like to pull this table together. I can create a view that looks like a table, can be accessed like a table, but it's actually a SQL command. Yeah, it's a view of a SQL command that can be accessed like a table, so you can pull it when you're writing. Because we actually have some views set up inside of our software, and I've had to edit them. And when I edit them, it's just easier to edit in other tools.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't know what I'm doing. So I did not RTF them.
I find that hard to believe, Tom. Because you didn't. Well, we all go through that.
One day I'll read a manual.
That's right. That's right. Also, so in addition to MySQL Workbench, which again seemed like a really useful tool, there's something there called NetBeans IDE, which is of course a Java-based software development platform. That, for anyone who's not familiar with it, it allows applications to be developed from a set of modular software components. I opened that up, and I was gonna see if I could just go ahead and just set something up. There was like some kind of PHP. I want to say it was like a calendar thing, and I decided I didn't have time to go off in that direction, because I'm prone to go off in a direction, and then the original thing I was supposed to complete never gets done because I took off on a side project. Yeah. So I brought myself back to my review and continued writing it. But anyway, that's there. And so, as I looked at these additional programs that were available in Pragmatic Linux, it became more and more apparent that you might not have an Office suite installed, but you sure as heck got a lot of great technical tools in this distribution. Also available and for use was Avahi SSH and VNC server browsers, and I think those make use of, as I recall, it's like the Apple protocol for not ZeroConf, but I think that is it, isn't it?
Yeah,
isn't that an Apple? Where you can if there's something on that network, you can go ahead and
it's a special Apple discovery protocol. I'm familiar with that. I can't remember the name of it though.
Yeah, so that's those are available in case you want to go ahead and use that. Also, they've got bulk rename. I don't know, but I'm going to make a confession here. I love those utilities where you can bulk rename stuff.
Yes. It's actually really happy, because when we do data recovery, sometimes the data recovery is less than happy, and bulk renaming is a thing.
Yeah, it's really, to me, they're nice. And so that comes, again, that's something a sysadmin might need to make use of, but it's there and available for them.
That Apple, is it Bonjour?
Yeah.
Bonjour. There we go.
That's it. Bonjour.
It's French, that's why I didn't know.
That's right.
Is that for hello? That's French for hello.
French, it is.
French for
Bonjour.
hello.
Good day. Bonjour.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry. Go ahead, Mary.
Not only are we doing a distro review, but we're also French lessons today.
Yes.
Oh, Tony, that was very welcome. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Seriously. Thank you. All right. So in addition to that, bulk rename and those the Abahi server browsers, it also came with Unet. I could call it Unet Bootin. Is there a better name to say? Better way to say that?
Yeah, Unet Bootin.
Unet Bootin.
You said as best as you can.
Used by Vladimir Putin.
Yes.
I'm joking. That is as political as I'm going to get. But anyway, that's a tool, of course, for anyone who's not familiar with it. And I don't know where you've been living, but it's a tool for creating live USB drives. So that's there by default. I always thought it was a kind of a Ubuntu tool. And I think it is, isn't it? Was it originate with Canonical or Ubuntu?
It's cross-platform. It's supported on all the different platforms for creating bootable USB drives.
Okay. And then, of course, and in addition to these that I noticed that have more technical bent to them, there's a full panoply of XFCE tools and utilities. And so this little distro really, I thought, came packed with some nice tools that that you can make use of. Now, one thing I did notice that I'm not going to say it would give me pause necessarily, but the community participation in this distro was a little light. And I say that because when you go to the forums, typically if you see a robust forum with a lot of recent posts, that gives you an indication of how many people are using it. And then taking a look in kind of at the headlines, it kind of gives you an idea if there's a lot of stuff in the bug and problem area versus hey, tutorials on how do you do this kind of thing. It gives you an idea of what's going on. But this one's a little bit on the light side. So that would be maybe the only thing that would give me pause, as far as this distro. But I found Pragmatic Linux to be a very serviceable distribution, even though, as I said, the website the community participation seemed relatively light. Yesterday, the site went offline for some reason. I thought, oh, great. The day before I do this, suddenly the website's not available because it was not able to make a connection to the database backend. You've seen that stock little thing.
Yeah.
They should have used my SQL workbench. All right. Okay. Bad joke. We're gonna move right on.
Or a WordPress bot took them down.
Yeah, that could be. That could be too. But anyway, so although the participation seems relatively light, I think the fact that it's based on art should make you feel comfortable testing this and just seeing if it's a distribution to work for you. Again, it was very straightforward. I didn't spend a lot of time looking at video editing stuff. They had, I think, one tool for that, just the standard XFCE tools. But when it came to the technical side of things and looking at those utilities, it ran the gamut. It also had, I believe, a Qt4, some tools there for that, if that's something someone's interested in developing around. So those are there too. So anyway, but that's my my look at Pragmatic Linux. Very pragmatic, if you ask me.
Well, at least they do have a cert on their website, so I was checking that.
Yeah, it is a very nice website.
Nice website.
It really is. It looks very professional. I like the color combination too, that gray with that kind of muted teal.
Yeah.
So that
Very cool.
that was it. It was just very straightforward. And see, I said this was going to be a quick, it's kind of quick and to the point.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah. Well, and for a while it occurred to me, I should do like little mini reviews of several Arch-based distros. And I thought about, I think in our previous episode, we talked about Talking Linux, and is that Arch-based?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it is. Yeah. And then there was another one that was called Velt OS, and I felt like doing that one, but but then it looked like it was in its early formative stages. So any review of that would be just purely from a, oh, look what's being developed kind of perspective, where I had a much better impression that Pragmatic Linux was certainly ready to be used as, and again, the network connectivity worked perfectly as soon as I plugged my cable in. But
all right.
So there you have it.
Very cool. So I'm a little bit of follow-up from the last episode. We were talking about the Pi Audio or Pi Sound.
Yes.
Hat for a Raspberry Pi. And Phil mentioned Vlumio. So I went on their website and I'm like surfing around, and they have a tube amp Pi hat. It's a tube amp. So it actually has a tube.
The little tubes that light up?
Yeah.
Oh.
As an amp that you could plug that goes on top of your Raspberry Pi. and then you can play music off of that. So I thought that was.
Wow.
It's only $150 for the hat itself, but I just thought
That's
that was
pretty
really
cool.
interesting.
Well, it
Yeah.
reminds me of those Nixie tubes.
Yeah.
Those number,
Yep,
they
the
kind
number
of light
ones.
up in numbers. Oh,
The Nixies are cool.
they have some clocks that are based off Nixie tubes.
Fun trivia. I used to repair a lot of those. We used to do high-end audio equipment, and when I had my electronics store, and we did Macintosh right there. We used to fix those ones. Phil's got on screen right now.
Mhm.
The Macintosh tube amps, because one of the guys that worked for me was 20 something years older than me, but he was a tube expert. I'm working on all those. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's nice.
Yep. Yeah, I did that all the way until 2010 when we stopped all the electronics repair.
I was under the impression, at least I thought I heard a long time ago, that sound that's generated from tube amplification has got a little bit warmer sound to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
there's no pun there because the tube gets hot, but I mean, it's got there's sort of a richer sound.
Because of the way it doesn't create square waveforms, so you have to create a number of steps to amplify each one. You can use a uniform curve when you're doing it with a tube amp. So because of the way it does it, without doing micro steps of each amplification, they actually produce a better sound.
Okay.
So the background is audio stuff I used to do. So
that's cool.
Wow, that was great. That sounded very
By the
good.
way, type in Macintosh amps and you'll see some of the amps we use. And even on eBay, those some of the old ones we build, they would go for around $3,000 to $4,000.
Wow.
That's why we were doing them for a while.
Yeah.
They are just outlandishly expensive
Hmm.
and really fun.
Cool.
All right. Yes, the Mic
Thanks, Tom.
275.
All right. So I guess we've come to the end, right?
I think so. That's all I got.
All right.
Okay.
So you have been listening to the Sunday Morning Linux Review. This was episode 233.
Fresh looks, pragmatic Linux.
This is Tony Bemis.
Mary Tomich.
Tom Lawrence.
And Phil Parada.
See you next time.
You've been listening to the Sunday Morning Linux Review. If you would like more information about this or other shows, go to smlr.us. Feel free to send comments to show@smlr.us or give us a call at 734-258-7009. I'm John. If you don't like it, you can
Bite my 8-bit metal ass. That's bite with a Y.
For that, it was almost a year ago.
So they're
The guy wrote it for himself, and that's it.
For what?
oh, okay. So it's getting all the Arch updates.
This is true.
But yeah, okay. Well, I just wanted to take a look at it. I went to the Git page and I saw that one because I want to make sure that they have done something recently so that I can talk about it but that's a good point.
7K.
What is that?
One of those Macintosh tube amps.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
They were lucrative to fix.
All right. So Phil.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
To all the viewers on YouTube, thank you for checking us out. And if you haven't hit subscribe, please
Please do that.
please press the button below. Thank you very much.
It should be red.
Yeah, the one that says subscribe.
One subscribe.
Also, go to smlr.us and you can subscribe to our edited audio versions so you don't get all these flubbing that we're getting right
Yeah.
now.
And you can also
over
send us helpful hints to improve.
Right. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Okay. Bye. Do we have people listening?
Yeah, we have 4 people here right now.
Yay.
Hey.
Hey.
Bye, 4 people.
Bye.
Bye, 4 people.